Welcome into our Buccaneers Top 50 reveal presented by Coca-Cola Beverages Florida. This is it. This is the start of our countdown. We are going to go through the top 50 players in Buccaneers history. To kick us off, we have an amazing guest. You notice I said to kick us off. I had to do that. We have Martín Gramática here with us. And Martín, thanks so much for joining us. And we just appreciate that we're going to get to hear your insight on some of these guys.
Well, I'm super excited, and I can't wait to see. I mean, there's so many great players and so many Hall of Famers, so it's exciting to see who the top 50 are.
Yes. He might make an extra point about one or two.
Oh, my God.
I had to get in on the puns.
Yeah, we had to start with the puns.
And I'm your favorite number 7.
Wow, that's
He said Jeff Garcia first.
But then I was wrong.
Listen, I know I'm not. Now I'm second. Bucky's going to be by far. I mean,
that's tough to compete against.
So I'll be okay.
You'll hold him off for a while.
No, there's no chance. He's doing great. He's doing good. He earned
awesome.
it.
All right, well, let's kick off this list. So let us meet here, our number 50.
He came out of retirement not to relive the past, but to write one final chapter. And in Tampa Bay, Rob Gronkowski gave us a storybook finish in personality and in performance. Already a 4-time All-Pro and 3-time Super Bowl champion, Gronk joined the Buccaneers in 2020, answering the call of a familiar quarterback and bringing championship swagger to a team that needed just one final piece. But in Tampa, he wasn't just a superstar name, he was a force, a matchup nightmare, a bulldozer with soft hands. Gronk's game was part brawler, part ballerina, physical, instinctive, and impossible to defend when it mattered most. He always rose to the challenge, especially in Super Bowl 55. Back in the spotlight with Brady, and once again back in the end zone twice. Gronk caught 6 passes for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns in the biggest game of the year, helping lead Tampa Bay to a 31-9 pummeling of the defending champion Chiefs. In just 2 seasons, Rob Gronkowski left a mark in Tampa Bay that will never fade. Today, we honor Rob Gronkowski as one of the top 50 Buccaneers of all time, the touchdown machine and legendary tight end.
All right, so there it is, number 50, starting the list. Not a bad name to kick off with.
It's a good one. Like, he came out of retirement, right? It's a nice thing. Well, I'm sure we were all happy as Buccaneer fans, but I'm sure Brady was the happiest. You know, his boy's back, his safety blanket. Anytime he doesn't know who to throw it to, you know, he's going to be open. So, yeah, no, we're happy to have him. So it was awesome that he came out of retirement for us.
Everybody already knew he was one of the greatest tight ends of all time when he came here, but then we got to see it on display, and he was still that guy because the offensive numbers in his career are ridiculous. Right. But at the same time, he was one of the most dominating blocking tight ends in the league, and that's just so unusual to have and such a great tool for any offensive coordinator because they can leave him out there for absolutely anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's so good in the passing game that you forget how good he is in the blocking. You know, because the numbers speak for themselves, obviously on the receiving side. So then you kind of think, okay, he's just a receiver, but no, he did a phenomenal job blocking too. Yeah, and that's like I said. Tom felt comfortable having his guy there blocking for him.
Yeah, and I think, as Gene said, the swagger was a big part of it, too. And this is the first guy of a couple sort of debates we're going to have as this list goes along of they weren't here for very long, but the impact that they made in that short period of time. It's amazing that a guy only played here 2 seasons makes the top 50 greatest of all time, but I don't think anybody would argue it. Right. I think there was someone who would put him even higher on the list, and it's just the impact that he had. Those 2 Super Bowls touchdowns that he mentioned were the first 2 Super Bowl touchdown. That's how we pulled away from the Chiefs originally and didn't just kept pouring it on. But those 2 would have been enough to win the Super Bowl, as it turns out. And you wonder if the Buccaneers would have won the Super Bowl that season if they had not been able to get Rob Gronkowski to come out of retirement.
Here's the snap out of the gun. Play action fake. Pass to Gronkowski. He's going to score a touchdown. Touchdown Tampa Bay. He throws toward the end zone. Caught ball. Touchdown Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rob Gronkowski's got 2 today.
And part of the culture change as well of seeing that Tom Brady wants to come here and then now his guys like Gronk want to come here and join, that it just felt like the overall kind of hype train was building about what this organization could be. So he was also a very fun guy to have around the locker room for sure. Added a lot on that front.
I'm sure. It looks like a lot of fun.
It was, it was a lot of fun to be around for sure. So that was number 50. So now we are going to move on and meet number 49. So let's hear from Gene.
He was small in stature, but never in heart. With a thunderous right leg and a passion that could light up the stadium, Martín Gramática gave Buccaneers fans a reason to cheer and jump for joy. Drafted in the 3rd round in 1999, a rare honor for a kicker, Gramática came to Tampa with expectations. He quickly exceeded them all. From clutch kicks to franchise records, Automatica became one of the most beloved and reliable players in Buccaneers history. With a booming leg, unwavering confidence, and unshakable nerves, Gramática was a weapon. From 30 yards, 50 yards, it didn't matter. He retired as the Buccaneers' franchise leader in points scored. But more than the points he scored was the passion he brought to every kick that endeared him to Tampa Bay. And when the stakes were highest, he delivered. A Super Bowl champion, a Pro Bowler, and the Buccaneers' emotional spark plug, because Martín Gramática didn't just score, he lifted the team. He played every game like it was his last, and every kick like it was his biggest. Today, we celebrate Martín Gramática as one of the top 50 Buccaneers of all time. The leg, the energy, the legend. Tampa Bay will always remember number 7.
So there we go. Number 49 on the list. First of all, you get to beat Gronk at something. That's pretty incredible in and of itself.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I love how Gene said the little guy or something like that. So thanks, Gene. Appreciate that. I've never heard that before. No, that's, I mean, what an honor as a kicker. You know, you don't ever expect to be put in any, a lot of people don't even recognize us as football players. And then to be on the top 50 with the amount of great players that we have, it's an awesome honor. But yeah, no, it's incredible. But this franchise is, like, for us, our home, you know, and this is why I'm so thrilled and happy to be part of this top 50. So.
That's amazing.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well deserved. You should know that this process began and was largely done by a fan vote.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think that's another part, in addition to what you did on the field, such a popular player in the area, still to this day. So I think that probably had a lot to do with it, too.
So you say because I stayed in Tampa?
No, during your playing
I'm just
time.
kidding. I like messing with him.
He does. You do like to mess with him.
He does. We all do, really. Let's be honest.
No, but
It's
I love playing the game, you know, and as a kicker, you want to do anything humanly possible to help your team. We're not on the field a lot, so for me, like growing up playing soccer, I was scoring goals for my team. You know, I was scoring points, and that's why I enjoyed it and loved it. And I know the guys liked it, but for me, it was all natural. Like, I just loved playing football and being part of this great team. So the excitement was just there because anytime the ball goes through the upright, I just, you know, wanted to make sure, like, hey, let's go. We're getting points. Let's keep going. So.
Yeah, and what do you remember about watching Martín during that time and kind of what he meant to the team at that, especially that era of Buccaneers football?
Well, I'll tell you, I know 2000 was your Pro Bowl season, but to me, your masterpiece was 2002. And a lot of players on the team had incredible seasons that year. People may forget that the Buccaneers won 2 games that season where Martín scored all the points. 12-9 against Carolina, which is one of the most clutch games the kickers ever had for this franchise. And then in the game we had to have in the last week of the regular season, playing in Champaign, Illinois, in a howling wind, we beat the Bears 15-0 and got the number 2 seed and the first round bye, which we really needed because Brad Johnson was coming back from a back injury.
Right.
So we needed every single win we got that season. And I don't know, we still might have won the Super Bowl if we were, you know, a wild card team or something like that, but we don't know.
Right.
So that just tells you how important he was to that championship season.
And you mentioned the fact that you've continued to live in Tampa, but to me, it's not just that you've continued to live here, it's that you really pour back into the community. And I know that Bucs fans and everybody in the organization sees that, knows that, loves that. That's not a given that you would continue to do that. So I think that not only just what you added on the field and with your kicking and all those points and feeling so confident whenever you went out there at such an important time, but the fact that now we've seen you've done so much for the Tampa community that, you know, I feel like this list, kind of like a lot of the things like Hall of Fames or whatever, it's not just about the on-field, it's also about the off-field contributions, and you deserve to be on the list for both things. So we're very excited for you.
Well, I appreciate that. And for me, it's an honor because to have an organization trust you and draft you, I felt the pressure to say I have to deliver because, you know, you always look, and when you have the defense that we had and we have, you know, the players that we had, they could have added another piece here, another piece there, but they brought in a kicker. So for me, I felt like I've got to deliver for this team. I have to make sure that I hold up my end of the bargain because they trusted me. And for me, that was the biggest thing. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, I gave everything back to the Bucs because if it wasn't for the Bucs, I wouldn't be here today. So I'm always thankful for that phone call. And obviously the role model that we had in Tony Dungy, you know, that's why so many guys still do stuff in the community, because he showed us the way, and that's what this organization does. Starting from the Glazers down, they're just great people, and I'm just very thankful that they decided to take the little guy, like Gene said.
One more thing I forgot to mention about that 0-2 season, you were 6 of 7 from 50 yards and beyond in there. And didn't you also have a long one near the beginning of the Philadelphia game?
I think it was 48.
Yeah, so
yes,
that was important.
Well, I think my rookie year I had 4 or 5 49-yarders, and I said that doesn't look as good as a 50-yarder.
Gotta get that 5 on.
Yeah, so I told the Royals, I said, look, if it's 49, I'm gonna back it up a yard. So our long snapper, looked back and thought he was punt snapping, but I said I gotta get better stats.
That's amazing. I love it. All right,
Gaming the system.
we are moving down here on our list here. Now it is time for us to meet number 48.
He didn't arrive with expectations. He wasn't drafted. But Cameron Brate became one of the most reliable weapons the Buccaneers have ever known and earned every inch of his legacy. Signed as an undrafted free agent out of Harvard in 2014, Brate's path to NFL relevance was anything but easy. But year after year, practice after practice, he carved out a role. What made him great wasn't flash, it was consistency. Brate was where he needed to be. When the play broke down, he got open. When the game was tight, he made the catch. In the red zone, he was a technician. In Brate's career, of all his clutch catches, none may have been as clutch as that day at the boat parade, snagging the Lombardi Trophy for a moment cemented in Buccaneers lore. Over nearly a decade, Brate became a quarterback's best friend. From Jameis Winston to Tom Brady, they all trusted him because they knew he'd deliver. Brate's legacy wasn't built overnight. It was built on trust, on toughness, on showing up when it mattered. He finished his Bucs career among the top tight ends in franchise history in every major category. Today, we honor Cameron Brate as one of the top 50 Buccaneers of all time, the undrafted gem, the trusted target, and a champion whose heart beat with the rhythm of Tampa Bay.
All right, so there we go, Cam Brate. And, one thing I love is that you're here to talk about players that you played with, guys.
Right.
And thanks to Spanish radio, you've been still watching this team and very familiar with all of them. So what stands out to you, having watched Cam Brate, not only during the Super Bowl run, but during his whole tenure here and what he meant?
I feel like he's that underdog that, just like quiet guy that doesn't say much but leads by example. And that anytime you talk to him, he's very humble. But then when he gets on the field, he delivers. And just like Gene said, anytime the play broke down, he figured out a way to get open. When there was a crucial time in the game, he was making that play and energizing the team. So it's one of those guys that not flashy, not one that's going to talk in the media and be crazy and loud, but he just delivered every time he got on the field. So I feel like he was that type of underdog where nobody believed he could get as far as he got, but he did it with hard work, and you could tell he's a hard worker. So yeah, it just did great things for our franchise.
Yeah, the undrafted guy who we almost lost to the Saints practice squad, right?
We were eager to get him back.
Yeah.
Jimmy Giles is in the Ring of Honor, considered one of the greatest players in team history, right? Tight end. Holds the Bucs record for most receptions by a tight end, most touchdowns by a tight end. Do you know how many more catches Cam Brate would have had to make to pass him?
How many?
5.
Oh, my gosh.
And how many more touchdowns to pass him? 1 to tie and 2 to win.
Oh, my
so
gosh,
if you're going to
so
recognize
close.
Jimmy Giles as being one of the best players in team history, Cam Brate was sneakily one
Right
of the
there.
most productive tight ends we've ever had. And Gene talked about him being a red zone weapon. Martín knows in practice they split it up sometimes, like do low red zone or high red zone. Like maybe they'd go from the 8 and that's low red zone, or maybe they're trying to get in from the 18 and it's high red zone. Cam was the master of the high red zone play. If you were, we always knew if we had the ball at the 18, they're going to Cam.
Going to Cam.
It's going to be that skinny post to Cam. He's probably going to take a big hit right after he catches it
Still
as
make
it
the
goes
catch.
into the end zone. And I think it was a signature for him. So a very underrated player.
I'm also very glad we gave him his flowers for catching the Lombardi Trophy. I've had a few people come to me and say, "Oh, when Brady threw the trophy to Gronk," and I'm like, "No, don't they had a lot of great catches together. Let's make sure Cam gets his credit for catching again one of the most important ones, not letting that thing sink."
Probably his biggest catch, like Gene said. I mean, can you imagine
If he dropped it,
we'd
that
have to
would've been
snorkel to go
awful.
get our Lombardi back.
He would have had to be the first one going in to get it. Yeah, and another great locker room guy, another great personality as well.
Funny.
I mean, Yeah, very funny. And he was my co-host on our player show last year and did a great job. So he's another guy that has contributed in a lot of different ways. So we're very happy for him as well. So, all right, now we're going to move on to number 47 on our list. And that is offensive lineman Donald Penn. Started 108 out of 112 games for the Bucs, had a Pro Bowl. And this is what I love, is for an offensive lineman, his offensive stats are not too shabby either. 3 catches on 4 targets for 2 touchdowns. Second career touchdown came in his 100th straight game started, which I loved, and blocked an extra point. I'm like, this guy's got some random sneaky little stats in there for an offensive lineman. So I know this wasn't really during your time with the Buccaneers. So Scott, give us a little bit of context for a guy like Donald Penn and what he meant and why he's an offensive lineman that made this list.
Well, Gene talked about Cam Brate being an undrafted gem. So was Donald Penn. He actually was unsigned out of Utah State with Minnesota, and they put him on their practice squad. He didn't really play that first year he was here, but then the next year was the Luke Pettigrew thing. He had no experience, none. He hadn't played a game. And he had to step in at left tackle, and he was a revelation. He was good right from the beginning. He was a huge dude, dude.
Yeah, very big guy.
But very nimble on his feet, as he had to be the guy they'd want to send out on routes and throw touchdown passes to.
And durability. If you talk about 100 straight games when he gets that first reception or second, so that means durability too. That's one of the things as an offensive lineman you need to be able to count on your guy that he's going to be there, especially for the quarterback. So to have somebody that durable as well.
And you know how much we enjoyed what Ryan Jensen brought to the offensive line recently? Just he's the leader of that attitude. Donald Penn played with an attitude, and I mean that in a good way.
I love that.
He was a really, really good left tackle.
That's awesome. Good to hear. All right, we're moving on in our list here to number 46, our final one we're going to be talking about here with Martín, and this is our sort of fellow radio counterpart. We have Dave Moore is number 46 on the list. 7th round pick, as we kind of talk about some of these underdog unsung heroes here. This guy, I'm like, tight end, but also we could say the fullback, the long snapper, and it could have been anything at this point. Made a Pro Bowl, and this is amazing. He had 24th most points scored in team history, and we had 24 receiving touchdowns, which was 9th most in team history. He scored the first touchdown in Raymond James Stadium, and he also didn't miss more than 2 games in any season for his entire career. I mean, this guy played more than 200 career games, was so reliable and durable all the time. It just absolutely blows my mind. So what do you remember about Dave Moore, the teammate and the guy?
Well, I remember Dave being a better guy than he is a player, and you saw all those stats. He's such a good person, such a good family, and again, hard worker. And that's the thing. Guys you always say the more you can do, the better chance you have to stick around and play longer. I mean, he came out in long snap, and then when he went to Buffalo, came back as a long snapper, and then did such a good job that I think they put him at tight end. Because he wasn't planning on playing tight end. I think he was planning on just snapping it towards the end of his career, but he was doing so good that they put him back in at tight end. But just a great guy. But again, very reliable. I have a lot of photos with him because I would circle around and do my celebration, and then his job was to circle around just in case the ball got blocked on the opposite side. So he'd be there to catch me. So we share a lot of good happy moments.
He was good at catching there too.
Yeah, exactly. He never dropped me. I could have had my only touchdown pass, but I apologize to Dave every time I see him because I threw it up so high. In Detroit, we had a bobble snap. I picked it up, and I just saw blur. Obviously, I'm not supposed to have the ball in my hands, and I see blur, but I only see Dave's jersey for some reason. It just appear out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, let's just throw it.
Yeah.
But I think I hit the ceiling. by the time I got there,
everyone else was there too.
Destroyed Dave. I feel bad for Dave. I hung him out to dry, so I said I'm sorry for that. I apologize to him all the time. But
that's hilarious.
Awesome guy. Yeah. A great role model for us young players. Because he was here when I got here as a rookie. I remember just having dinner with him. He was my roommate in one of the preseason games. So then we had lunch before the game together, and just he guided us in the right direction on not just the football but our future. Like off the field as well. So just a great guy.
That's awesome.
You said he was a 7th round pick. I should point out that wasn't by the Buccaneers. He was drafted by Miami in '92, and they let him go in November, and their loss was our gain because we picked him up, and then he played so long for us. He's in the top 5 in games played, isn't he? And Martín kind of alluded to it. For the next few years with the Bucs, he was very much a bubble guy when they were cutting down to 53, and that's why he would always do things like pick up long snapping. Back then, the long snappers usually also played positions, so it wasn't unusual for a tight end to be a long snapper. And you mentioned the number of touchdowns he had. More than 10% of his career catches were touchdowns, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's quite a success rate.
And that catch that he made, the touchdown in against Chicago in the first game in Raymond James Stadium. We were losing 15-0 at halftime, and it looked like, oh, God, the first game, the debut is going to go badly. And then he made this incredible – he was wide open down the left sideline, but Trent overthrew him a little bit. He made this really good one-handed catch for a long touchdown, and from then the Bucs scored 27 unanswered points. So kind of spurred us on there. And then one more thing about Dave. I think you alluded to this a little bit. I don't think people know what a tough guy he was. He played through everything.
Yeah, you don't play that many games.
I'm not going to make specifics out of it, maybe because of the hip or whatever, but he played through a lot of injuries that I can't even imagine going on a football field.
He's like that little game, the doctor game.
Operation.
He's probably had all of it.
That's amazing. Yeah, and another
but
really great
played,
guy.
never skipped games.
Never skipped
games.
games. Really great guy. When I first joined the team, he was my plane seat buddy, who I was always sitting next to on all the road trips. And I thought, what a perfect guy to get to know the Bucs franchise and what he was about. And he's just an amazing guy, amazing person. And I love that he just racked up stats, not because he was necessarily the flashiest guy, but just was always there, always available, durable, and whatever you want me to be, team, whatever position you want me to play, I'm here, I'm ready to do what it takes, and I think that's a great addition to the list.
And he made the Pro Bowl as a long snapper in his last year.
Yeah,
only guy for the Bucs ever to do that.
That's awesome.
I'm glad we had Martín here to talk about all the tight ends and team history.
Yeah,
there wasn't a lot of variety.
That's
for
all
you.
right. Hey, but good guys, so I like that. Yeah. You made good things to say about all these guys.
So that's very true. Well, Martín, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and congratulations again on making the list.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you guys so much, and super happy to be with you.
Well deserved.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we are now going to meet our number 45.
In 1977, the Buccaneers were still searching for their first win. Then came Ricky Bell, drafted first overall out of USC by his former college coach, John McKay. Expectations were high, but Bell was built for it. A former linebacker turned running back, he brought power, speed, and above all, toughness. From day one, Bell was a workhorse. He ran through arm tackles, he fought for every inch, and then in 1979, he set franchise records and carried Tampa Bay to its first ever NFC Central Division title. On December 29, 1979, in the franchise's first postseason game, he delivered a monumental performance. 38 carries, 142 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was unstoppable, and he led the Bucs to their first playoff victory, 24-17. In just 5 seasons in Tampa, he became the franchise's first 1,000-yard rusher, the heartbeat of the offense, and an example of what perseverance looks like. Today, we honor Ricky Bell as one of the top 50 Buccaneers of all time, not just as a great back, but as a cornerstone.
All right, so we are here. We're going to get to talk about Ricky Bell, and of course, someone who knows a thing or two about blocking from some great running backs. We are joined now by Ryan Jensen. Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, definitely. This is an awesome opportunity to come out and talk about some really good football players.
That's Super Bowl champion Ryan Jensen.
Yeah.
Right,
Can't
of course.
Forget, can't forget
you
about
didn't
that.
see the lights all flickering over here on this incredible ring. And yeah, I mean, we're just so excited to have you back and get a chance to talk about some of these players with you. So, Ricky Bell, first, I'll kind of throw it to Scott to talk about this guy. But tell me a bit about what his significance was, especially early in the franchise like that.
So he was the first overall pick in 77. And he was a USC guy. And the reason that they wanted him is John McKay had come from the USC, our head coach. And so he was familiar with him. And really a powerful runner, a workhorse type back. Dealt with some injuries early, but in 1979, when the team finally got good for the first time in their 4th season, he had a 1,263-yard season, just really the focal point of the offense. We didn't have a huge passing attack, and I remember that in the first playoff game the Bucs ever played was against Philadelphia in 79, and they won. And Ricky Bell carried the ball 38 times for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he was the offense at times.
And that's music to an offensive lineman's ears, right?
Oh, yeah. The more carries, the better.
He's a power back, kind of ran between the tackles really well. Do you like block for that type of back?
Oh, yeah. For me, I was more of a downhill type, run game, very physical. Could do a little bit of everything, but having a back that isn't scared to put his head down and hit that, even if it's a small hold, but he's going to be able to get through it is huge.
He really peaked in 79. His career was a little shortened. A lot of people know the Ricky Bell story, and he had I'm not going to do it a disservice by trying to pronounce the rare disease that he contracted, but caused heart failure, and he died at the age of 29. So it cut his life and his career short, but for a brief while there, he was really shown very bright.
That's awesome. I'm glad we were able to honor him on this list for sure. All right, so now we are going to move on to number 44, and let's have Gene Deckerhoff introduce us to who this is.
When Doug Martin had the football in his hands, he attacked the defense. Drafted 31st overall in 2012, the Boise State standout wasted no time making his name known in Tampa Bay. From the moment he stepped onto the field, the muscle hamster became one of the more electric players in franchise history. His style was a rare mix, low to the ground, impossible to tackle cleanly, and a relentless engine that kept driving through contact. He didn't go down easy. He didn't give up. In 2012, he gave Bucs fans one of the greatest rookie seasons they had ever seen. On November 4th, 2012, a Sunday evening in Oakland, Martin delivered in a monstrous way. 251 rushing yards, 4 total touchdowns. 3 of those scores came from 45 yards out or more. He authored one of the greatest single-game performances in NFL history in his hometown. That day, the league took notice, but in Tampa, we already knew Doug Martin was special. He erupted again in 2015, another 1,400-yard season, a Pro Bowl nod, and a first-team All-Pro selection. And while injuries would test his journey, Martin never stopped grinding, never stopped fighting. Through the highs and the hurdles, he remained a symbol of toughness, a back who left defenders in the dust and left his name etched in Buccaneers history. Today, we honor Doug Martin as one of the top 50 Buccaneers of all time, a workhorse, a playmaker, and a running back who made magic in pewter and red.
Okay, so Doug Martin, again, back-to-back running backs here. Man, you just missed Doug Martin, which I feel like is sad. Because for what we were just talking about the kind of running back, fill us in a little bit, Scott, on who Doug was. And I know I got to overlap with him some. And, of course, the nickname Muscle Hamster, which he was not like that. He was not fond of. I probably shouldn't have even mentioned it on his behalf. Yeah. But I do feel like, man, this guy was truly could be a powerhouse back there.
And obviously what that name evokes is that he wasn't the biggest guy, but he was yoked. And he had power, but he also had breakaway speed. And he is still the only running back in team history with 2 1,400-plus yard rushing seasons. James Wilder only had 1. So, he had some injuries in the middle, but he had 2 really great seasons. And the second one, he was first team AP All-Pro, made a couple Pro Bowls. And really probably the biggest memory is went home as a rookie to his hometown of Oakland. We play the Raiders, and he has 251 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Jeez.
The greatest running game in franchise history. So, he had a little injury up and down in his career, which is a shame, but when he peaked, he was one of the best running backs in the NFL.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, again, having a back that, can put a game on his back is huge for an offensive line.
Hand the ball off. Doug Martin, the counter run. Martin to the 35 to the 40. Martin to the 45 to the 50. Martin to the 45 to the 40. Martin to the 30. Martin to the 20. Martin to the 15. 10-5. Touchdown Tampa Bay. It's the Doug Martin Show in Oakland. He's into the promised land again. 4 touchdowns for Doug Martin. Is there anything number 22 can't do?
250-plus yards. You're having a good day in the film session, I'm imagining.
Well, there was a 75-yard touchdown. There was something like a 63-yard touchdown and a 45-yard touchdown. So he's breaking them off. Oh, yeah. You got to love that when you're blocking for that. You open the hole, and now do they get 5? They break it.
Oh, yeah. And that's, always the goal for offensive line is getting that back to that third level and having a back, like Doug, who had that breakaway speed. If he gets to that third level, makes that safety miss, nobody's catching him. So it's beautiful.
Were you running all the way down to celebrate with someone after that long, or are you going to meet them at the bench maybe?
Well, you got to do the extra point.
Yeah.
Or maybe
I didn't do the extra points, but, speaking of that, when Rojo broke that 99-yarder or 98-yarder against Carolina in 2020, I was like the second person down there. So it was a long run, but it was one of those.
Took it out of you.
Oh yeah. Thankfully, again, didn't have to do the extra point and got to go sit on the bench for
suck some oxygen for a little bit there.
Exactly.
All right, well now we're going to move on to number 43, and this is someone you are definitely familiar with. We have Jason Pierre-Paul. So tell me, for you, having him on your team, getting to watch what he meant to the team, but also maybe some of those battles with the offensive line in camp. What was it like to make sure that you were like, you know what, I'm probably happy he's on the team here?
Yeah, definitely. Watching JPP, early in my career, he was one of those game wreck type players. And when I signed here in 2018, and then we traded for him that same year, I was like, yeah, I'm glad we have him on our team because he's a very unique athlete, very long athlete, but had that ability to bend. You know, we used to always, as offensive line, you block him and you get your hands on him, he'd be able to like shift his body. We used to kind of joke around that he was like Gumby. Like he had such crazy amount of bend in his joints and his ligaments, where even if he wasn't in a powerful position, you know, where you would imagine like a powerful position would be, he could still get power into his body and do really abnormal athletic movements out of very, you know, compromising positions. So it's going against him in camp definitely made us better as a whole as an offensive line, and it's but yeah, at the end of the day, I was very glad he was on our team.
Like Ryan said, it was a trade. We got him in a trade with the Giants, and still wasn't too far removed from the unfortunate accident with the fireworks. So I remember not everybody that covered the team was sure that it was a good idea. But he had 12.5 sacks that very first year, and 2 years later in the Super Bowl season, kind of infamously and now in retrospect, kind of stupidly, he was our only Pro Bowl player on the team that won.
That is wild.
Yeah.
But the thing I remember about Jason Pierre-Paul is that he did not want to come off the field.
No.
I mean, edge rushers are supposed to be in a rotation, and this guy just wanted to play every play. His first 3 seasons here, he played like 87% of the defensive snaps, which you don't normally get from an edge rusher.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I think that's just a testament of how hard he worked and just that competitive drive that he brought.
That was it.
And, you know, when we traded for Jason, I know Jason Light, that was one of his things. He wanted to bring guys who'd done it before, you know, and been competitive and been, you know, a leader and a tone setter. And I think JPP was one of those guys that Jason wanted to bring in for that fact alone.
And then we got Shaq the next year. Yeah. That was quite a duo.
Quite a tandem, yeah. And similarly, I think similarly to you, maybe brought a bit of an attitude as well to the way he played, the way he did some things, the way he carried himself, which I think was a big factor in that year as well. All right, so now we're going to move on to number 42 on the list. We have linebacker Cecil Johnson, so played from 1977 to 1985, 111 games. First of all, I love nickname the Diesel, right? Which it's a great nickname. Big fan of a good sports nickname. So tell me, Scott, what were his roles again in that early years of the franchise that morphed into being a really great defense after a couple of years in particular? What was his role in that?
I think we're going to talk about this with a lot of the guys from the early era. It was the expansion in '76 was not conducive to the expansion teams. It was really hard. We didn't have real free agency, and it was hard for them to get talent. You know, the veteran allocation draft was mostly older and injured guys, and you could only get so many guys in the draft. So the Buccaneers actually signed Cecil out of Pittsburgh as an undrafted guy, and he started his rookie year and started for like 6 straight years. So it was finding gems like that, in this case in an undrafted group, that really made it possible for them to become good in just a short period of time, because they were in the playoffs by their 4th season. And so, he was a really great player, played for a long time. And in 1981, he set the team record at the time with 174 tackles, and nobody topped that till a guy named Hardy Nickerson came along. Yeah, it's a name we're going to be talking about later in this process.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. And what were some of the things that were specifically interesting about the way he kind of played that even I'm thinking about the types of linebackers that offensive linemen have to face, and what are some of the things that would have been
He was just
really
kind of a hard-nosed guy. Played all, you know, obviously with all those tackles, he covered a lot of ground. And, you know, you didn't play with him, obviously, but I think you could probably appreciate. You were drafted, 6th-round pick, but it took him a little while to give you an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, maybe the first few years you were there, they didn't know that this was going to be an important player. So.
Yeah, I think that's something that happens, you know, with the late round guys and, you know, the undrafted free agents is sometimes you don't know exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, that was kind of a prime example for me. I was a 6th-round draft pick, and I was, you know, I thought, a lot of people thought, you know, I was going to be kind of a career backup swing interior guy. And then when you finally get an opportunity, you gotta take it. And, you know, Cecil, sounds like that's what he did. You know, he was an overlooked guy. And when he finally got his opportunity, he showed what he could really do and what he was really made of. So, you know, it's a good underdog story, and that's kind of how I love it.
I thought you might like that. Yeah.
I think everybody, you know, most people love a good underdog story, and for me, that's something that I really appreciate.
One more fun fact about Cecil: he was the last player who played in the first game the Bucs ever won in '77. He was the last player to stay with the team. He stayed through 1985. So when he retired, that was the last guy from the first one.
From the first one. I love that. All right, well, now it is time to meet number 41, the final one we are having you here to talk about. So let's throw it over to Gene Deckerhoff to see who this is.
In Tampa Bay, Ryan Jensen became the heartbeat of the line. Signed in 2018, Jensen brought more than strength to the Buccaneers offensive line. He brought identity. From his first snap, the message was clear. No more finesse. It was time to fight back. Over 5 seasons as Tampa Bay's starting center, he became the anchor of one of the NFL's most physical offensive lines. But more importantly, he became the tone setter. In 2020, with Tom Brady under center, Jensen was the shield in front of him, delivering consistent snaps, finishing blocks to the whistle, and holding the line through playoff wars. His legacy isn't measured in numbers, it's measured in respect by his peers, by the quarterbacks he protected, and by every Bucs fan who saw him give everything every Sunday. He brought grit back to Tampa Bay. He brought fight to the front line, and he helped build a champion. Today, we proudly honor Ryan Jensen as one of the top 50 Buccaneers of all time, the warrior in the middle, the protector in the trenches, and the soul of a Super Bowl champion.
Look at that. I think you're familiar with who that person is. So congratulations, Ryan. So excited for you and just so happy to have you here to get your thoughts on being on this list.
Yeah, definitely. It's a massive honor, obviously, as an offensive lineman, we don't, strive for this. We're a very kind of overlooked position until we're not. Mm-hmm. And, it's such an honor to have the respect of, everybody that put this list together, to be put on this list with my, short amount of time that I was here. So, it's awesome. I don't know what to say besides, it's an honor, and I'm extremely excited to be kind of enshrined into this list.
Just so you know, the majority of this process was driven by fan votes on social media. So there was some input from media and from some of us in the building as well. But I think you made an impact on the fans in what you call it. 5 years isn't necessarily that short of amount of time.
Especially in the NFL.
True. That is very true.
Yeah.
And in those 5 years, I know I kind of set it up earlier. You had to wait a few seasons in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore, to get your shot. And then when you finally got the shot to start every game of the season, it went so well. And then you hit free agency at a good time, and now you're a coveted player in free agency. But Ryan signed the first deal, which was, 4 years?
4 years.
Finished it and signed another pretty good 3-year contract. So that doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that was because they realized how important you were to this line, not just because of how good of a center you were, but as Gene was saying, the attitude, the tone setter. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of Buccaneer fans appreciate that.
Okay. Go, Shaq. Good to have you back, baby. Oh, yeah. Good to be back. Yeah, that's strong. Nope, I ain't the one. I ain't the one. Oh, I'm just having fun, Flash. I'm just having fun, baby.
Very much a tone setter. And I also think it's really cool to think about the ways that it's not even just what you did on the field, but the fact that even Tom Brady wanting to come here was a large part of, he was looking at this offensive line because it's like he didn't want to get hit,
Sure,
so you guys and who you were was such a big part of even him wanting to come here, and so not even just what you did on the field, but that, and so for you, what stands out most kind of about your time here and your career, and just what it ended up meaning to your NFL career and your family?
Yeah, no, it was obviously being not a homegrown talent here in Tampa, and being a late round draft pick. Going into that free agent year, it was a whirlwind. I remember. I came to Tampa first for a visit, and then ended up flying up to Indianapolis for a visit up there during that free agent period. And as I'm sitting on the plane, after I had my visit with Indy, talking with my wife and my son at the time is like 6 months old maybe, and Indianapolis almost felt it was more comfortable from a. It was that Midwest. I grew up kind of in a Midwest town, but I remember looking at my wife and I go, I think Tampa let's get out of our comfort zone and let's go down to Tampa. And obviously, the opportunity down here was pretty good. We had just signed Mike to his first big deal, and Jason was really building this really good team, and we came down here, and it was home right away. And I wanted to be part of something that. When we're sitting here with Jason on my free agent visit, he goes, "Hey, I want you to come and help us rebuild this thing. We want you to be kind of a no pun intended, a centerpiece in the rebuild of this of this team, and do what you do and set a tone and really bring that attitude that's been missing for a lot of years here." And for me, it was that wanting, like being wanted. Like being appreciated for the way I play the game, which is kind of really is a dying thing in our league right now in the sport with that really nasty physicality that I brought. But being able to come here, and signing obviously a life-changing deal for me and my family. That vision Jason had started coming into fruition. It was pretty awesome to be part of that initial kickstart of it.
Yeah, and I think you made the right choice when you got a ring.
definitely got a ring.
And it wasn't just like you were along for the ride, as we were talking earlier. You guys really were at your best in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl in particular. And when you compare what the two offenses had to deal with in that game, you remember Patrick Mahomes running all over the field. Tom Brady was pressured, I believe, 3 times in the entire game. And that, I think, is you could say that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, I think technically 1 sack when I snapped the ball over his head, but we don't have to talk about that. I mean, it was funny because I was actually I was watching the highlights. It just popped up on my feed.
No way.
And I'm like, I didn't realize it actually hit Tom in the hand, so he should have caught the ball. So it's actually on him, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing for sure. I love it. Well, Ryan, thank you.
If I could add one more thing.
Of course.
You want to talk about making a lasting impact. Players now are getting asked, like people were talking about Cody Mauch's and his demeanor on the field and how he's becoming more of an outgoing guy, and they describe that by saying a Ryan Jensen type of player.
Yeah, that you've defined.
I think
what
for
it
years
means.
we're going to hear whenever we have a guy who's kind of like a nasty playmaker like yourself.
And we swear it's not just for redheads.
Right.
It's not just for that.
They'll all be called a Ryan Jensen kind of player, and everybody knows what it means.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. I think that for me, it's kind of that lasting little bit of influence I had on the team, and it's always funny because I actually text Cody after that little incident, and just like I love it.
Yeah,
I'm so proud of you. It's like my little my son's growing up.
So awesome.
Especially since he's got the flowing red hair like me. But no, it's amazing, and again, it's an honor to be even included on this list. So.
Amazing. Well, thanks again for coming down to do this. It was great to hear from you, and yeah, just good luck with everything in the future. We're excited to have you.
Definitely appreciate it.
All right, that's going to do it for us on this edition of The List. Stay tuned for the rest of the Top 50 Buccaneers Countdown.